Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Let's Play Morrowind, where previously Fathis, what did he do really? He went shopping, mostly. He bought this fancy new robe that he's got, and he came here to Sadrith Mora to train in the arts of mysticism and alteration with Ardarame, the Psijic mage, from the Psijic Order. From Somerset Isle-ish. From the Isle of Artaeum, really, which is in that region, but hey. Actually leveled up twice in the process of doing all that. You may have seen it on the screen if you were paying attention. But leveled up twice, increased strength, intelligence, and personality on the first level up. On the second level up, just took the straight 5+. 5 times bonus to willpower. So up to 70 willpower with my current buffs in effect. Interestingly, what is it that's buffing that? Oh, the Mentor's Ring, of course. There we go, yeah. Forgot I was wearing the bloody thing, actually. Mentor's Ring, Denstagma's Ring. Yeah, those are the two major buffing rings I've got on at the minute. And then the third slot is for temporary stuff like this Ring of Fireball here. Yes, okay. So, very good. Very good. If I were to put on the Belt of the Unarmored right now, or the Unarmed, sorry, that would increase my Magicka by 40 points. So let's do that. Yeah, 133 out of 93. It's a little bit of a... It only really pays to put it on after resting because of the way that Magicka buffs really work. But you can also use it as an emergency source of extra Magicka points, I think, if necessary. The downside of the belt, of course, is that it does make you 20% weaker to normal weapons. So there's that. But it does also give you 10 points of Sanctuary, which kind of makes up for that a little bit. I'm a little cloudy on the mechanics of how Sanctuary actually works, but basically it makes you harder to hit. It increases the chance of NPCs missing when they swing at you, so... yeah, but when, you know, obviously when they do hit me with a normal weapon, they're going to do 20% more damage than normal, it looks like, so... But we can live with that. For the extra Magicka particularly, that's very, very nice. That's a lot more, you know, absorb health spells that we can chuck out as a result of that, along with all the other sort of things like Levitate that we generally tend to do. I do have some unlocking spells, which I always forget. I always tend to default to the lockpicks, when really I should be unlocking with magic whenever I can, because security's not actually one of Fathis' main skills. He's become relatively proficient at it. It's currently at 42, in fact, with one of those gloves he's wearing giving him a bonus. But, yeah, should really be focusing on the magic, because that is what will allow us to actually level up. Incidentally, we are level 27 right now, which I think if I was playing a more optimized character, shall we say, we'd be almost godlike at this point, particularly if you're playing some sort of fighter. Like a proper battle mage kind of a character. We'd be unstoppable at level 27. But I deliberately picked a really wonky build for this playthrough in order to actually make it more interesting. And it seems to have worked out so far, because all my previous playthroughs, by the time I got to level 27, I was just a godlike entity that could not be killed. So, plus, I think some of the mods are helping in that regard too. So, you know, there you go. Anyway, that's the that's the little character sheet update, I suppose. One other note before we get into it as well, actually, just to drag you completely out of whatever immersion you may have had. I'm glad you guys are enjoying the new format I'm doing with this, with the narration, which, in case you're wondering, is added in post. A lot of people have figured that out already. It's pretty obvious, but for those of you who are still unsure, a lot of the narration I do is added in post. I think it makes much better videos. I think it's a much more interesting Let's Play to watch, personally, if I do say so myself, when I do this style. The downside, which I will try and be completely transparent about, is that obviously it takes longer to make these videos now when I do it this way, because I effectively have to write out a script when I'm editing the video together and then add the pieces of narration afterwards. The previous video, I think, was only a 30-minute video in total, but it took way longer to make than normal because almost all of it was that post-narration. It made for a really interesting video, I thought, but it took a while to make. So you guys are, unfortunately, you may have to be a little bit more patient than perhaps normal when it comes to me uploading new videos in this series, because it does take me longer to make them now. It's not simply a case of turning on the camera, talking for a while, chucking it together in Adobe Premiere, and then booting it out the door. There's more to it. So, but I think the product is the end product is more worth waiting for. Personally. Anyway, so what we're going to do now, actually, is you may have noticed that when we went and we sorted out Odin Iran for Master Arian, after it, kind of had a shiny magpie moment and went off to explore that Dwemer ruin, and then completely forgot that there were some Ashlander jobs that we were supposed to be doing. So, big surprise, we're going to go do those. With breakfast taken care of, Fathis heads back upstairs briefly to get changed. His new robes are rather nice and definitely growing on him, he decides. However, while they suit well the tasks of walking about town and studying the magical arts within a comfy tavern, he needs something more rugged for today's task at hand. He changes into his weather-worn red robes, festooned with leather pouches and armoured from within. For travelling the Ashlands or the Molag Amur, he will settle for nothing less. Next, he reviews his notes. There are 2 tasks that lie ahead of him. The first, along his planned route, is Subit Vale, an encampment of rogue Ashlanders on the coast to the southwest of Sadrith Mora. They allegedly possess an urn containing the remains of one of the Kaushtababi tribesmen's relatives. Fathis doesn't quite recall which relative it was. His notes simply read, "Find urn of remains, Subit Vale camp," with the word Subit Vale underlined a couple of times.
My patience.
He still hasn't quite gotten used to the Telvanni's strange architecture. It takes a couple of attempts to successfully find the Gateway Inn's front door.
Can we hurry this along?
He heads down to the waterfront. Today's route will take him straight across the water as the cliff racer flies, more or less. It's much faster than sailing over to Molag Mar and then trekking through the ash wastes. And with a quick spell of water walking, he won't even have to get wet. Fathis is dealing a lot with the Ashlanders at the moment, and will be for a while to come as well. He still has to make that trip up to see the Nerevarine cult. Of course, calling them Ashlanders is a bit of a slur in a way. They prefer to be called the Velothi, named after the prophet Veloth, who led the ancient Chimera to Morrowind in the first place. Ashlander is a bit of an offensive term in a way, because they don't live in the Ashlands by choice. In the Merethic era, the Velothi and the settled House Dunmer enjoyed a fairly equal relationship, but over the centuries, the Velothi have been stripped of power, forced into the poorer wasteland regions of Morrowind, and branded heretics by the Temple. There are 4 clans that live on Vardenfell: the Ahimusa, the Zainab, the Arabanimson, and the Ursulaku, with the Kaushtababi hoping to form a 5th clan. There have been some Velothi clans on the mainland too over the years, including the Variansu, the Kargesh, and the Ulathi, although Fathis has yet to encounter any of those. As he makes his way west, Fathis passes the tower belonging to Divaith Fir. He met the ancient wizard once, some time ago, whilst acting as a messenger for Master Arian. Divaith Fir is the oldest living dark elf that Fathis is aware of. The living gods of the tribunal notwithstanding, of course. There are other Telvanni magisters approaching similar ages too, and Fathis has never been given an adequate explanation as to how they've lived for so long. Clearly, it must be a closely guarded secret. He's heard some rumours that there's an element of necromancy involved, but as a necromancer himself, he's yet to discover that particular trick. What puzzles Fathis is how, after living for so long and becoming as potent a mage as he is, Divathir has done virtually nothing of real note. He just sits in a tower, creating his strange, cloned wives and fussing over his corpusarium. Fathis isn't entirely sure what the corpusarium actually is, but he knows what corpus is, and he'd rather steer well clear of the place, if possible. Finally, it seems, he's reached his first destination. Okay, looks like we might have found the place that we're looking for, but the residents of this place are not particularly happy to see us. That's fine. I don't think Fathis really cares much either way. They can give him what he wants, or they can die, and he'll take it. It seems they have elected the way of pain. Is it even worth checking to see if you have anything? Yeah. There we go. Okay. There is a Shulk farmer over there, but I think we can probably leave him alone. I think he's just sort of minding his own business.
You will suffer greatly. You Inma.
Okay, one spell slightly too far now. Fathis searches around the outcast yurt. The place is a mess and smells. The Ashlanders aren't particularly hygienic on the best of days, but these renegades are even worse. Half the food seems to be going off, and the other half is cooking over the fire, and the stench is quite vile. He locates the ashen remains that brought him here in one of the urns, identical to the ones containing the food and positioned right next to them. Disgusting. The Velothi have rather strict customs, and the punishment for breaking most of them is to be cast out from the tribe. Evidently, this seems to happen quite often, since Vvardenfell is dotted with camps of hostile renegade Ashlanders like these. Even Julan and his mother were outcasts of... was it the Ayamusa tribe? This can't quite remember. He usually tuned out Julan's babbling about his personal life on their travels together. The Molag Amur region is very similar to the Ashlands, but nevertheless not entirely the same. It exhibits a lot more active volcanic activity, and even has a few rivers of lava on the surface. The far larger Ashlands region to the north is more of a desolate wasteland created by previous eruptions of Red Mountain, but here, the volcano's presence is more keenly felt. No great house currently lays claim to this region, and while, in theory, the temple lays claim to any part of Vvardenfell not controlled by the great houses, if anyone can be said to truly rule here, it would be the Arabanimson tribe, whose camp, incidentally, is Fathis' next destination. Okay. We seem to be getting charged by an Ogrim. This is not terribly good news. I don't really want to get within punching distance of this guy. I think that would be a very bad idea, as a matter of fact. Not without running up a ton of shield spells anyway, so let's see some of these potions I picked up from the Mages Guild. And I'd really like to hit you and not the Shulks, because I don't want to make the farmers angry. The beast is slain. Vathis isn't entirely sure why it ignored the farmers in favour of him, but perhaps it sensed his power compared to theirs. Ogrims are servants of the Daedric prince Malakath, sent forth into the world of mortals to, well, essentially provide Malakath with amusement. They are ugly, brutish creatures with virtually no real intelligence, but are freakishly strong. Staying out of arm's reach of the beasts is usually a wise decision. Vathis resumes his journey westwards. The Arabanimson camp is close by. What brings him here today is a woman betrothed to one of the Kaushtababi Ashlanders. Her name is Avilo and is apparently a healer. She didn't leave with the rest of the outcasts because she was tending to sick children, apparently. Vathis doesn't really care for her reasons, only that she agrees to leave. He reflects that it probably says a lot about the Arabanimson that their outcasts are actually quite friendly and open-minded. He should tread carefully. There is an air of unease about the camp. Things clearly are not at all well here, and his presence is not helping matters. Many a suspicious gaze darts his way as he introduces himself to a grizzled local, who impatiently directs him to a nearby yurt. Vathis is dimly aware that the Velothi have some strange customs surrounding who has permission to enter whose yurt, and he hopes he's not about to break them. He introduces himself as politely as possible to the yurt's owner, Adut Lamanu, but she's not interested in hearing a word from him and points in Ivilo's direction. Alright, we're talking to Avilo. We found her. And she asks us, why do we ask? Because she is her. I come from Yanit Sehabani. He wants you to come to Kaushtababi camp. Yanit has sent you? Blessed ancestors, I've wanted to see him again for so long, but my sister's husband and the Guar-brained Karpal has stopped me. Asking about this Karpal guy, I guess? My sister's husband, Karpal, is very stupid but very strong. I've seen him slay a beast with a single blow. Since my parents died, he has tried to stay as his wife's sister. Since my parents died, he has tried to say as his wife's sister, I am of his Hearth family, and that I must do as he orders. He threatened to kill me and my love Yanit if we married against his wishes and did not give him a rich bride price. Yanit could not afford what he asked, and I have no brothers to speak for me. Karpal is one of the war-loving Arabanimson, and so could do as he wished. Yanit left the Arabanimson to join Kaushtababi tribe, but my sister's children were sick, and I chose to stay and make them well. Karpal, the Shalk-faced, was off raiding then. My sister's children are well, but Karpal has returned. He will still try to kill me if I leave, and if he is not paid a rich bride price. A bride price is a Velothi custom in our marriage ceremony given to the bride's family by the groom. Mostly, it is just a thoughtful gift, but the bride's family can refuse the gift until they get a rich one. It is allowable, but seen as greedy. Karpal, the netch-nosed, would have the right to ask for a rich one, richer than Yanit can afford if he had the right to ask for a bride price at all. I do not think he does, but he is strong and feared, and I have no brother or father to speak for my rights. If you wish to see Yanit and I married, then I ask you to go speak to Karpal the Dreg-faced. You can pay him what bride price he asks, or you can challenge him for the right of marriage. That is also a Velothi custom, but one seldom used because most families are not greedy in asking for a rich bride price. Okay. Carpal might be an Arabanimson Ashlander that hates outlanders and foreigners, but imbeciles like him are scattered the world over. Idiocy knows no borders. Fathis will enjoy dealing with this one. He mentally prepares a few charm spells in case the fool can be talked down or tricked in some fashion, but Fathis has to admit he likes the idea of challenging the oath in combat. The arch-assassin is a master of the duel and has no fear that he will lose such a contest. It's more about the spectacle. Fathis is trying to make a name for himself among the Ashlanders, and they are a people of oral tradition. The tale of the day an old man came to the camp and beat the young, strong, arrogant warrior in a straight fight will probably travel around the campfire quite a bit. He decides to play this one by ear, but if the opportunity presents itself, perhaps a fight should not be avoided. Especially among this particularly warlike tribe. They might even respect him more for winning. A woman outside eyes him warily, but when he explains that he's looking for Carpal, her eyebrows raise and her expression softens. Perhaps she predicts a confrontation. More than that, she seems to relish the prospect. Carpal clearly hasn't been winning friends and influencing people around here. She directs him to the yurt in question quite eagerly, and Fathis theatrically rests a hand on the grip of his dagger as he makes his way over there. As he enters the yurt, he quickly wolfs down a small restorative potion and readies his charm spells. Carpal looks about how he'd expected, bald, a broken nose, and features covered in scars.
What do you want?
He reminds Fathis a little bit of the Ogrim from earlier. Okay, we're speaking of Carpal. I am Carpal, strongest of the Arabanimson. You have come to speak to me about a rich bride price, Outlander. A bride price is our custom and given to the bride's family. My wife's sister, Avilo, is part of my hearth home now that her father is dead and she has no brothers. I expect a rich gift to be given me by her husband. Yeah, Yanit does want to marry her. You wish to offer me a bride price for my wife's sister, Avilo, so that Yanit may marry her? It must be rich, or I will not accept it. Make your offer, Outlander. Yeah, I don't think Fathis is interested in giving this guy any gold. Fathis doesn't actually have a lot of gold right now after spending virtually all of it on training. Of course, he has plenty of magical trinkets and treasures and stuff back in his hideout that he could sell to get more gold in a hurry if he wanted to. But yeah, no. Although I suspect that perhaps if we were to offer him 100 gold, he would actually think it's quite a lot. I don't think Ashlanders are used to having a lot of gold at all, and I think if Fathis was to offer him 100 gold, he actually probably would go for it, thinking that is a lot of money, when actually it isn't, of course. But just on principle, I don't think Fathis wants to give this guy any money, and also maybe teach him a lesson. Don't think he likes the guy. Teach him a lesson, and maybe kill him. Probably kill him, actually, but the thing is, we're trying to get in with the Ashlanders a little bit at the moment, or Fathis is anyway, and if he can sort of this would be a story that would travel around the Ashlander camps, really. He's trying to make a name for himself, and I think this would be one way of doing it. So I offer you a challenge. Then Carpal will kill you and take your golden goods, and later get a rich bride price. Ha! And Avilo calls Carpal stupid. Yeah, see, apparently he's kind of stupid, so he probably would have gone for that 100 gold. But that's okay. So what we're going to do is very quickly queue up a load of shield. So you can hit like a truck if he wants, but it isn't going to matter. and then just go to town. Karpal lies in a pool of blood, an expression of utter moronic surprise etched on his features. Fathis sheathes his blade and can't help but smirk. He reaches down and takes Karpal's bone mold tower shield. It'll make a fine addition to a skeletal servant's armory at home. The other gentleman in the yurt has nothing to say and patiently waits for Fathis to leave, surrounded by a shield enchantment of his own. Fathis speculates that perhaps Karpal ends up getting into a lot of fights here and that the shield enchantment is a precaution against the routine swinging of wayward axe blades and fists. Have you spoken to Karpal about his stupid rich bride price? He is dead? Thank you. My sister will grieve for Karpal, but not much. She knows she made a mistake in accepting him as her husband. Their children, it is they I feel sorrow for. A father is loved by their children, and they will miss him. I will gather my things and travel to Yanit soon. Look for me with him. His work here is done. Fathis didn't know Karpal had children of his own and doesn't much care. However, it brightens his day somewhat to imagine that he has deprived them of a clearly idiotic and abusive parent. He knows the type all too well. Bidding farewell to the ash wastes of Molag Amur, Fathis utters the incantation of Almsivi intervention and teleports himself to Molag Mar. Up here is the same dusty haze that seems to be the most common weather pattern of the region. Impatient to leave, he decides to leap nonchalantly over the side of the canton edge and drop down below using a slowfall spell. Unfortunately, he mispronounces one of the spell's syllables slightly and realizes he has therefore uttered the wrong incantation. Below him, a surprised shipmaster stares up at the master assassin, cursing and swearing as he gently floats down more slowly than the duration of his spell will safely allow. Fathis corrects his mistake with a levitation spell, floating the rest of the way down and grumpily thrusting a bag of gold into the hand of the perplexed ship's captain. He will return to the Kaushtababi tribe soon enough, but he wants to allow the tale of his deeds with the Arabanimson to circulate a little bit first. So instead, he embarks on another voyage north to Voss. He arrives in the middle of the night again, but as usual, is confident that Master Arian will not be asleep. Thanks to his recent tutoring, he should now be eligible for promotion to the rank of wizard. And with that, he's been assured, comes some impressive benefits indeed. While he's there, he plans to see if the master has any more work that needs doing. He wouldn't wish to appear idle. Do you have news from Odiniran? We do, as a matter of fact. Yes, Milinfaram sent me a messenger who spoke highly of you. Perhaps the Hlalu will not be so hasty to oppose us next time. Why not take this book? It shows one of the many uses of illusions. I've also been researching how to make a Staff of Hunger. It's not quite perfected, but perhaps you could find some use for it. Incident of Necrum has been added, and Silver Staff of Hunger has been added. Incident in Necrum. Necrum. That's a place we'll go to one day. So, about this advancement. You are qualified for wizard, but you must first build a stronghold. Okay, now you're talking my language. For matters regarding your tower, you should speak with Lunela Leran at the Telvanni Council House in Sadrith Mora. She's in the Hermitage at the Telvanni Council House. The Hermitage, of course, being the bit right at the very bottom, the basement almost. Right, any other things to do? Thanks to recent agreements with House Hlalu, we have a chance of passing a resolution which would overturn the Mages Guild monopoly. Okay, I wonder if dealing with those Hlalu earlier was possibly part of these agreements. Interesting. According to one interpretation of the armistice, only the Mages Guild can offer spells and training to non-members. Speak with the House Redoran councillors in Ald'ruhn. If you can convince at least 3 councillors, we will have enough support in the Grand Council. I would start with Athan Serethi, as he seems to be the most open-minded. Ald'ruhn, then, I suppose we're off to now. I haven't been there in a while. Speak with the Redoran councillors that live under Scar. Interesting. Okay.